Lieutenant Marisol Mara Yu stood in the cramped briefing room of the TFS Sirocco, the staccato hum of life support systems her only company. Holographic schematics floated before her. A dozen battered escort frigates, each bearing the faded heraldry of distant Terran sectors, circled a cluster of civilian transports. The emissaries in their uniforms, sweat beading on their brows, murmured anxiously. A single Commodore's sigil hovered over one of the frigates, marking their only fighter-capable warship. "These ships aren't battle-ready," whispered Ensign Diallo, the youngest officer, her wide eyes flicking between the models. "Half of them still have patch jobs from Sunderfall invasion." Mara exhaled, brushing a loose strand of jet-black hair from her face. "I know, Ensign, but the Coalition has commitments. The Sirocco and her escorts are all we've got for these transports." At the end of the table, Commodore Anton Halos, holographic visage solidified, tall, gaunt, with silvered temples and shoulders squared against some burden only he could feel. "You'll helm the Sirocco's bridge once we clear the jump." His voice crackled through the cum. "Lieutenant Yu, you know the cataloged hazards of Lancer's Reach better than anyone. Your mission is simple. Shepherd the convoy through the system's outer rim, repel any pirate action, and make sure those transports reach Ventress Station intact." Mara nodded once, sharply. "Understood. But with all due respect, Commodore, if we run into a full Reaver squadron, this tiny fleet ... She trailed off, unwilling to expose her fear. "A fleet may be tiny," Hello interrupted, "but each ship flies the Terran banner. That alone is enough to make some pirates think twice. Keep them alive." She ended the transmission, hard hammering. Across the room, Chief Engineer Rika "Spark" McAvoy, her lanky frame draped and grease-stained, overall snorted. "They gave us the oldest rust buckets in the yard and call it a fleet. We'll be lucky if the life support holds until Ventress." "Optimism suits you," Mara muttered, forcing a grin. Minutes later, the Sirocco's jump drive flared to life, bathing the bridge in violet light. Mara's hands flew over the helm console as the ship tore through hyperspace. The other frigates followed, their exterior shields glowing like fireflies against the void. Moments later, the jump disengaged. Ahead lay Lancer's Reach, a frigid star half-swallowed by rings of icy debris. 4 pale moons winked in its glow. Sensor readouts scrolled in endless lines. Meteor clusters, weak gravity wells, and something else. Long-range scanners picking up signatures at plus 400,000 kilometers. Reported Tactical Officer Grayson. Multiple contacts unregistered. Likely pirates' fast, lightly armored vessels. Mara adjusted the helm to bring the frigates into formation around the transports. "Commodore, we have company. Orders?" Alo's tone came steady. "Maintain escort formation. No ship falls behind. Weapons at the ready." She swallowed. "Helm, execute escort vector. Alpha 3. Weapons. Charge spread pattern plasma cannons on Frisks 2, 4, and 7. The convoy shuddered as the frigates powered up. Ensign Lowe tapped a console in rapid choreography, eyes flicking between surveillance feeds. "They're warping in." On the view screen, 4 sleek black frigates blinked into existence at the fringe of engagement range. Their prows bristled with disruptor arrays. Sails of sensor jammers flared. Above the sensor haze, the emblem of the Nebula Reavers, a skull draped in nebula smoke glowed crimson. A ripple of laughter buzzed through the encrypted pirates' channel. Lowe frowned. "They're mocking us." "Let them laugh, Hellos." Voice crackled confidently over the comm. "They're about to see we don't flinch." No sooner had he spoken than a jagged bolt of violet energy lanced across the void, striking the rear frigate TF's Griffon. The ship shuddered violently as its shields collapsed. Alarms wailed. "Damage report." Mara barked. Griffin's aft. Shields at 20%, cried Reyes. The weapons tech, green from the blast. Life support's holding, but we've taken hull breaches. Griffin, fall back to slot 8, Mara ordered, voice tight. Flank frigates engage those jammers, knock them out of the sky. Blue-white plasma streaked from the escort frigates. The pirates' jammers flickered, sputtered, and died in rapid succession. Then rallied as automated defense pods rose from the black smoke of their hulls. Drones inbound, warned Lowe. Point defense systems online. Rapid-fire bursts from flak turrets carved glowing trails through space, each drone detonating before it could close. But the Reavers were cunning. Hail of micro-missiles screamed past the point defenses, ripping gaps in Sirocco's starboard. Shields. Mara felt the ship shudder. The bulkhead beneath her feet groaned. Sparks arced from a vent in the overhead, hissing as they burned through conduits. Divert auxiliary power to starboard shields and life support, she snapped. Reyes pounded the console. Diverting now. The shields flared back into amber luminescence. A cluster of transports slipped through the frigate screen. 1. The Mercy of Ventress rattled under a grazing salvo and listed off course. Mara watched, breath caught in her throat. Low, get me Mercy's cum channel. Static crackled, then a voice tingy, terrified. Lieutenant, U shields down. Engine offline. We're drifting toward the rings. Hollow's orders were calm, unnerving. Prepare a drone launch. We'll tow her out once we clear the Reavers. Mara nodded. Aye, sir. She keyed the sequence. A handful of maintenance drones, remote-controlled by spark, clattered free of their bays and streaked toward the crippled transport. The pirate leader, a slender cruiser dubbed Dark Nebula, veered to engage. Mara's stomach tightened. A single cruiser with disruptor beams could rip an escort frigate to scrap. But 4 frigates converged, micro-missiles locking onto the cruiser's engine ports. Direct hit. Reyes cheered as 2 missiles punched through Dark Nebula's starboard drive. The cruiser veered off target, shields flickering. The tiny fleet pressed their advantage. Plasma arcs lanced the cruiser's broadside, severing key sensor arrays. In the haze of ion exhaust, Mara glimpsed Hollow's posture straighten. Yes, she thought. They laughed at the tiny fleet. But the tiny fleet fights back. As the convoy's transport stabilized under drone tow, the Lancers reach. Star presided over the battlefield in silent judgment. Mara's knuckles whitened on the helm. The first day of their passage was nearly won, but even in victory, the shadow of the Nebula Reavers loomed. And Mara knew the real test still lay ahead. The bridge trembled as shards of hull plating rattled like hail against reinforced bulkheads. Lieutenant Mara Yu steadied herself against the helm console, eyes locked on the view screen where the Nebula Reavers' remaining cruisers bore down. Their disruptor beams sang through the void, slicing through the tiny fleet's shields with remorseless precision. Point defense is struggling to keep up. Ensign Lowe warned, fingers dancing across the targeting arrays. They've switched to drone swarms. Plasma flak is overloaded. Mara's jaw clenched. Divert full power to the aft batteries. Target their thruster mounts. If we can cripple their engines, they'll be sitting ducks. She tapped a command, watching as the aft turrets lit up like distant suns. Explosions blossomed against the lead Reaver cruiser's port flank. Its engines hiccuped, then belched out a sputtering trail of combustion before stalling altogether. The cruiser lurched and another escort frigate, TFS Valiant, closed in to brace it with boarding laser volleys. But the reprieve was brief. From the belt of debris spiraling around Lancer's reach, more black shapes glided into formation light. Attack corvettes, each bristling with guided missiles. Mara cursed low under her breath. They're pulling reinforcements from the rings. Hollow's voice crackled in her ear. Lieutenant, hold the line. Protect the transports at all costs. I'll handle the rest." Moments later, the channel lit up with the break of new transmissions. Deep, resonant, and unmistakably authoritarian. "This is Captain Salim Reese of the TRS Atlas. Stand down immediately or be annihilated." A stunned silence swept the bridge. Mara's heart thundered. The Atlas, a Purity-class heavy cruiser, flagship of the Terran Republic's frontier contingents, rumored to be deployed only for the gravest crisis. "It can't be," Lopez whispered. "They didn't send her for a mere convoy escort." Mara keyed her mic. "Atlas, this is Lieutenant Yu of the TFS Sirocco." But Captain Reese cut in, her tone icy. "Lieutenant Yu, your ragged fleet fights bravely, but you are outmatched. Fall back to safe distance and render assistance to these transports. Any further aggression will be met with overwhelming force." On the view screen, the Atlas materialized. Beyond the wreck of the stricken cruiser, a gleaming leviathan, longer than 4 frigates nose to tail, its hull bathed in starlight silver. Magnetic railgun batteries glowed ominously along its flanks. Mara felt every eye in the bridge fall to her. She drew a breath. "Commodore, what are your orders?" Hallow's gravelly reply was calm, almost wry. "Lieutenant, let the big gun make her entrance." Before Mara could protest, the Atlas's engines flared. It vaulted forward in a shot of cobalt blue ion energy, closing the distance in seconds. Sensor arrays on the Reaver cruisers flared red as railgun batteries powered up. "Stand by to fire." Captain Reese's voice came through again. "Targets locked." A deafening boom reverberated through subspace as the first slug raced away from the Atlas, searing through the lead cruiser's command module. The ship's bridge vanished in a superheated blossom, and its hull ruptured in a cascade of torn steel and plasma. The second shot found the follow-on cruiser's reactor core. Its detonation sent a shockwave that rattled even the Siroccos. Reinforced windows. Mara's underlings cheered as the remaining pirate corvettes scattered, their formations broken and disoriented. The Atlas unleashed another salvo, each shot precise enough to nick micrometeor fragments at astronomical distances. "Pirates are retreating," shouted Reyes, his face alight with disbelief. "They've lost heart." Across channels, the transport captains erupted in gratitude. The Mercy of Ventress, its engines back online, thanks to Spark's engineering drones hovers alongside its escorts. Crew members waved improvised flags of thanks. On the Sirocco's bridge, Mara allowed herself a weary smile. "All right, everyone stand down, the battle station's safe. And let's help the transports link to Ventress Station." In the aftermath, as the wreckage of Reaver vessels trailed debris like dark flowers across the void, Captain Riss hailed them one final time. Terran Republic forces are now in control of this sector. Any Reaver operations attempting to re-establish will be terminated. "Welcome to the edge of civilization, Lieutenant Yu." Mara guided the convoy into formation behind the Atlas, grateful for its protective shadow. As the battered tiny fleet limped toward Ventress Station, its ragtag hulls battered but unbroken, Mara reflected on the day's lessons. That courage could come in small numbers, that loyalty outshone steel, and that sometimes all it takes is one Terran ship, no matter how tiny the fleet, to turn the tide of battle far behind them. The stars of Lancer's Reach bore silent witness, their cold light promising new dangers on the horizon. Yet for now, the Terran transports were safe, their passage secured by a handful of escorts and by the legend of the Sirocco and her silent guardian, the Atlas.